Hey, welcome to World Entertainment, and I'm sure by now, of course, you've all seen the news. It's everywhere, every channel is doing it, every article's talking about it, and yet, it's actually only a rumour at this stage. But that rumour, and this whole conversation is, of course, that Star Wars is finally getting rid of Kathleen Kennedy because apparently she has decided she will retire at the end of this year.
Whoop-de-doo! What does it all mean, Basil?
Yeah, so we're going to have a look at the article, and keep in mind, this is a rumour. That now they're actually highlighting this as like, oh, this is 100% confirmed. And apparently, it's not 100% confirmed that this comes from Puck. That's right, that's where the report actually comes from. It's from Puck. And the Hollywood Reporter picked up on it, and then everybody else jumped onto it. So keep that in mind, that this may not actually be the case, especially seeing as we've been listening to the likes of Mike Zero, even Doomcock and others speaking about this for about 5.5 years, if not longer, at this stage. But let's dive into this article. Now, we're going to look at some of the article. It's another massive article that kind of goes over it. The one we're looking at anyway is on that Park Place, which mentions that it's a rumour basically. So let's jump into it. So after more than a decade at the helm of Lucasfilm, Kathleen Kennedy is reportedly preparing to retire, leaving Lucasfilm by the end of 2025, according to a recent report by Puck, which the Hollywood Reporter soon followed suit. While rumours of her departure have circulated for years, this time it appears to be more than just fan speculation.
I think I can smell shite.
Yeah. Yet, as fans rejoice over the potential end of what many view as a disastrous tenure, there's a harsh truth that must be acknowledged. Kathleen Kennedy may be leaving Lucasfilm, but the damage she inflicted on Star Wars will linger for years to come. When Disney purchased Lucasfilm in 2012 for $4.5 billion, Star Wars was the most valuable and evergreen franchise in cinematic history. It has defined generations, inspired countless stories, and built a cultural legacy that seemed unsinkable. Enter Kathleen Kennedy, a producer with a storied past working alongside Hollywood legends like Steven Spielberg and George Lucas himself, tasked with steering the franchise into the next golden era. Instead, she drove it off a cliff.
What an idiot!
The decline began almost immediately with the sequel trilogy, a mess of inconsistent storytelling and clashing creative visions centered around an unlikable and unremarkable protagonist. Rather than mapping out a cohesive plan, as Marvel had done with its cinematic universe, Kennedy handed full creative control to J.J. Abrams and Rian Johnson, allowing them to craft their respective films, The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, without any overarching roadmap. The result? A narrative disaster. Abrams introduced a slate of mysteries in The Force Awakens, from Rey's parentage to Supreme Leader Snoke's origins, without any answers. Rian Johnson then took a contrarian approach in The Last Jedi, subverting expectations for the sake of shock value, unraveling many of Abrams' plot threads and further dividing an already skeptical fanbase. By the time Abrams returned to try and salvage the story with The Rise of Skywalker, the franchise was in disarray. The final film tried desperately to patch up the narrative gaps, but instead became an incoherent mess, ultimately the lowest grossing entry in the trilogy. Each film, though technically a financial success, earned less than its predecessor, a telling sign of audience fatigue and waning enthusiasm. Between The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker, the Star Wars franchise experienced its first cinematic bomb with Solo: A Star Wars Story. Since The Rise of Skywalker in 2019, There has not been another Star Wars theatrical release under Kennedy's regime. While Kennedy's stewardship of the Star Wars films left the brand bruised, her foray into streaming television further fractured the franchise.
No shit.
And it goes on from there. And that is the thing, is the legacy she leaves behind is not one of success whatsoever. Instead, it's a trilogy that was a disaster. It's also a trilogy that managed to bring back the original cast and never put Han, Luke and Leia in a scene together. It's a legacy that goes, you made Star Wars a TV brand and you killed it on the TV with the likes of between season 2 and 3 of The Mandalorian, one season of the Book of Boba Fett, and of course you can't overlook the likes of the Acolyte and Skeleton Crew doing nothing in charts.
You serious?
Her legacy is, of course, put a chick in it, make her lame and gay. You remember.
Let's put a chick in it and make her lame and gay.
Yep. That's the legacy she leaves behind. And it's not just on the screen either. Let's not forget she destroyed and removed all of the extended universe and said, we don't have the ability to go and look and use source material. We don't have hundreds and thousands of books and comics to use as resources for our stories. And everybody went, yeah, you do. It's right there. You've just rebranded it, calling it Legends. It's like, wow. This is the woman who also oversaw the likes of the disaster that was the High Republic series that failed in book form and comic form. The woman who saw Willow be returned for a miniseries that absolutely got destroyed so badly they removed it off of the streaming service altogether, never to be seen again. And the list goes on, including let's not make Tatooine and the original Star Wars for Disney parks. No, let's make it all new Star Wars and have nothing of Star Wars in it. She did that. She was the mastermind behind, hey, let's make a galactic Star Cruiser hotel that we'll have to close within a year of opening it, where we're going to charge guests up to $6,000 for 2 nights. This is the legacy she walks away with, if she's actually walking away. But of course, she can walk away all she wants. She could do it today, she could do it tomorrow, she could do it at the end of the year. It will make no difference. Not just because the damage is already done to the brand of Star Wars, but because the people that are behind her are also the problem. She leaves, we're still going to have to deal with the likes of Dave Filoni. We're still going to have to deal with the likes of Pablo Hidalgo. We're still going to have to deal with the likes of Disney itself. Taking one bad apple out of an orchard filled with dead, rotten apples on the trees. What's the use in doing that? So there's no point celebrating this news because it changes nothing. It's you've removed one defective clog from a big wheel of nothing but defective clogs. So as much as people think this is going to save Star Wars is finally going to get back on track, no. Unfortunately, it's not going to change a bloody thing. In fact, it might even get worse with whoever steps in, especially if it's Filoni, because by God, would I not be surprised if he went in and actually just said, right, we're going to reboot Star Wars from the get-go. And instead of it being Luke Skywalker's story and Anakin's story, it's going to be from very beginning to very end, Ahsoka, because that's his little masterpiece. That's all he cares about is Ahsoka. She's going to end up being every bloody thing. That's the issues you have. So long to the witch, but by God, the minions are still there. And that's an issue. So, with that, I shall leave it there for this one. Like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Cheers, and I'll catch you in the next one.
Boy, that escalated quickly. I mean, that really got out of hand fast.
It jumped up a notch.
It did, didn't it?